Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are. What? Yeah, right. Nice to have you here. Nice to be speaking with you today. This is an honor and a privilege on my part, and I fully recognize that. So, my intention is to respect your listening ears. That's my intention. I hope that you are well. I hope that all is great in your world. And I hope that you enjoy the show that I have prepared for you. And when I say prepared, I mean ever so loosely, because I haven't prepared a single goddamn thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk, right? So normally I talk about subjects that are related to dying, death, and grief. But let me just tell you a story, if I may. You are listening to DJ LP, just in case you were wondering, like, who is this? She's just started talking like we know each other.
This is Sister LP, representative for Passion Radio UK.com.
There you go. That's official. I am DJ LP, and you are listening to me live on Passion Radio. And yeah, I realize sometimes I just kind of just start talking like you and me are mates. And most of the times I just think I'm sitting here talking to myself, and I kind of forget that actually people do tune in to talk to me, to listen to me, rather, wittering on about subjects that relate to dying, death, and grief. It's amazing. Like, wow, people are interested. And it's heartwarming because, what we speak about here are important subjects, they are important matters. Recently, I have been explaining, and when I say recently, I mean like literally in like the past 2, 3 days, I have been explaining that my work as a death care practitioner, practicing, has actually come to an end. Okay. So, as an end of life guide, the role is that of guiding families and individuals through the death transition. Now, there's more to that than it sounds. It's not just a matter of just being there on the day. It's a matter of working with people as they prepare to lay their body aside. This is the work. We have a lot of generational trauma and bloodline trauma and grief that needs to be cleared. We are carrying a lot of shite within these spaceships that we call our bodies. Yeah, these avatars that we sit in contain the DNA of our ancestors, those that were not able to speak, those that were not able to release their trauma, those that were not able to release their pain, those whose cries were not heard because they were looked at as less than animals, those that were deemed subhuman, so treated as cattle and livestock. Okay, we're carrying a lot of their DNA. We're carrying a lot of their energy, a lot of their sadness, and a lot of their stress and pain and worry. And then if we look at, okay, thanks a lot. So that's a message from Lorna, just to say that we've got white noise. We've got a lot of static on the line. All right, so I'm going to see what I can do about that. Thank you, Lorna. See, I'm not talking to myself. That's proof. There is proof. There is life out there. Okay. If you can just let me know whether at all I have improved the situation, that would be really great. Also, what I'm going to do is try and just turn up the microphone and see if that helps at all. Okay. And let's turn this up as well and see if that helps. Okay. So, yeah, I appreciate any messages. If you could just let me know how that's kind of landing with you guys, then I really appreciate that. So, As I was saying, I am Laura D. Pusey, and okay, there is white noise, and the white noise is drowning out my voice. This is terrible. I need some help with my equipment. Somebody offered to help me this weekend, and I will be seeking that help. Bear with me a second, and what I am going to do is just put some music on. If that's what's necessary, then we may have to just abandon today's show in favor of music. All right, bear with me a second. Let's see if I can sort this out. Okay, so we are going to go again. I think that I have perhaps improved the quality of the output. I'm just going to wait and find out if anybody's going to let me know whether it's any better. So as I was saying, you are listening to DJ LP on Passion Radio. As you can see, this is live. And sometimes the equipment isn't the best that it can be. But I'm striving to improve that situation. And that means that I've had to make a few changes and improvements in other places so that I can facilitate the changes where they need to be. Does that make sense? It's like, okay, if I need to do this, then I need to do this, that, and the other first so that I can do this. That's how the thing often goes. And I suppose that's what planning in advance is all about. So, as I've said, you're listening to DJ LP on Passion Radio. I can't say that I've actually prepared. It's now 50-50. Okay. All right. Okay. I don't know whether I'm able to get it any better than that. But what I am going to do is I'm recording the show. So I am going to get one of my fellow DJs to come round and help me to obliterate this white noise business, because we can't be doing with that. Okay, we want 100% black noise. That's what we want. Okay, I also record this show on Zoom and I post it to my YouTube channel, and also two clips of it to Facebook, not Facebook, TikTok as well. So you can find me Debouts Medea. All right. And those versions of the show where you can actually see my face as well are not going to be marred by white noise. So once again, I apologize to my listeners on Passion Radio. And I assure you that it will be sorted out. Every Monday I have my show from 2 till 4, so I can't be carrying on the way that I have been, because it's just shoddy and it doesn't look good for the station either. But things are going to change. And yes, we are in a time of change. And it has been pointed out to me, as I was explaining earlier, that the time has come for me to move my position within the role of death care practitioner from one of actual hands-on work practitioner to one of a trainer. It's time that I train people up to do the work that I do, which is the work of end-of-life care, which is the preparation that people must go through when they are approaching the time of laying their body aside. Just as if you were having a child, you would prepare, you would nest, you would sort things out, you would get things in order so that when that transition happens and that baby comes, everything is in place. We are also received on the other side. The ancestors do their work in preparing for the newborn that is about to come. And when I say newborn, I mean in this life as a human. You could be in your 90s. When you step through that door, trust me, you are a newborn and you are equally welcomed. What we don't want to be doing is stepping through that door with trauma and baggage that has been stored up in this lifetime, that has been experienced by the very many different versions of ourselves in this lifetime, yeah, or by the previous ancestors in, or humans, elders in previous lifetimes, whose DNA resides within our blood cells, within our bone marrow, within our body. We also have past lives, thousands and thousands of past lives, because we have lived on this earth for millions and millions of years. Indeed, we are the eldest form of humanity on this earth. We are carrying a lot of energy, gunk, dark matter that needs to be cleared, you know, and it's not just us, the whole world, you know, every single person on earth really does carry more than just what they appear to on the surface. That's why when they say beauty is only skin deep, they are correct. When you're looking at somebody, it's so easy to be taken in by what you see, but what your eyes show you is not the truth of who a person is. You know, when our children are born, when these perfect babies splash out into this earthly terrain, we don't anymore stop to consider who they are or what their purpose is, where they're coming from, and what it is that they've come to earth to do, so that we can help them to ensure that they fulfill their role on earth. Okay, so oftentimes I say to myself as I'm talking to you guys, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm ranting. I'm not ranting, I am channeling. I am channeling. And so I do get caught up in this energy that is, I suppose, comes across as quite forceful. To me, it comes across as quite forceful. Um, and so I'm like, okay, let me just explain that. Okay. So, as I've said, we are carrying a lot of energy from past lives. We are carrying energy from our ancestors and trauma and experiences from this lifetime. So, if you take those three forms and recognize the fact that we have been living on Earth for a very long time as human beings, then there's a lot that's going on within these bodies that we need to consider. And when you actually look at this body that I earlier on described as an avatar or my spaceship, then what we also have to realize is that we have lungs, hearts, kidneys, thighs, breasts, maybe. We have hair follicles, we have eyes, you know, we've got body organs, skin. The skin is an organ. And within these bodies or avatars or spaceship, as I call it, are cells. Okay. And within these are communities. Your heart is a community of cells. And when that community is disrupted, you may very well find yourself suffering from heart disease or having a heart attack. Okay. So let's take your heart. We will experience, let's say, twinges or something like that, and then we'll go off to the doctor and maybe be put on statins, or like, I don't know, because I'm not a medical physician as far as I know, maybe in a previous lifetime, but in this lifetime I'm just Laura. Okay. And so the way how I understand it is that if you have a heart attack or you have a problem with your heart, some kind of heart disease, if you have a hole in your heart, some people are, then we often go to be medicated for it. But what we don't look at is the spiritual reason behind that problem, behind that situation. Within our heart, we have a whole community of cells and veins and muscles. Yeah. And they all perform their role to keep that community intact. They all work together. Now, when they experience a breakdown in any one of those areas in which they work, then they, as a community, will be compromised. And that compromise will result in some form of pain to alert us to a problem. Okay? Now, oftentimes we are carrying so much energy and so much baggage from other timelines, dimensions, lifetimes, and DNA. So when we do experience problems, there is also a big, huge chance that it is a result of the manifestation of a problem that has happened in spirit prior to, or physically prior to this lifetime. Now, what I'm saying is quite deep and quite a lot to take in. So I'm trying to kind of simplify it as much as I can. And I'm not trying to, what's the word I'm looking for? Talk to you as if you don't understand. Because even if what I'm saying is going over your head, then your subconscious mind is taking it in. There are aspects of your being that are taking in the knowledge that I'm saying. And so whilst I am talking to you on the 9th of the 10th, 23 at 1400 hours in the UK, you might not actually deep what I'm saying until 2 weeks later, 4 weeks later, 8 years later. Maybe then it might have a little bit of relevance to you. What matters is that I'm putting the information out there now. And so that's what I've been doing. I've been putting information out in advance of the disaster, in advance of the tragedy, in advance of the situation or happening, so that when you need it, it's there. And my journey in itself continues. When you get there, I won't be here. You know, every time somebody writes a book, it's old, it's done, it's finished. That person moves on. And that's what we're supposed to do. Now, I thought that my role on earth was to do the death work forever. I actually thought that I was at the beginning of that process. And when I say I thought that I was at the beginning, I literally mean it. Like, I have put stuff in place. I've created FACFO, which is the Federation of African and Caribbean Funeral Operatives. My work is through DIPism, which is death in practice, through which I do the practical work, end of life work, helping people and their family members to prepare for that time. I conduct funerals. I arrange funerals. I have trained to be a funeral director. It's hard work. It's heavy work. So I don't do it. I am a clinical hypnotherapist. I'm a mentor and a coach for people who are grieving. I help them to recognize that our grief is not only an energy that affects us on a psychological, it affects us socially, emotionally, financially, physically, mentally, yeah, in so many different ways that we can't always fathom until we find ourselves experiencing grief. And then we realize it's as if the rug has been pulled from beneath us. So I have written Tapestries of Grief, which is a workbook designed to help individuals, groups, or families through the experience of grief. I define grief within that book so that we can understand why it affects us in the ways that it does. I've also created My Life's Tapestry, which is an end-of-life guide that allows us the freedom to express our wishes before we lay our body aside, so that our family members can then go to the doctors or the consultants and say, you know what, this is what he wanted, this is what he said, and he filled this book in when he was compos mentis, and he doesn't want to be put on a life support machine, or he doesn't want to be force fed or resuscitated. and this was his mum, and this was his grandma, and this was his great grandma, and this is what they believed, and this is how his funeral shall be. You know, it's a book for the future generations. It is a gift so that our great, great, great grandchildren can look back and say, great, great, great grandma did this. She went to this school. She wore these clothes. This is the food that she liked to eat. You know, this is the music that she loved to listen to. This happened to her when she was at school. And the reason why I created that book is because we have stopped talking to each other. There was that notion, don't talk your business. Whatever happens in the house stays in the house. Well, sometimes some terrible things happened in the house and they were not addressed. So the time has come and we need to start talking about this stuff so that when we do lay our bodies aside, we have cleared some of that trauma. And so when we do make that transition, we can do so with more confidence than that which we have of when we are wondering whether we're going to heaven or hell. Yeah. And what might await us when we get there. And have I been bad? And oh my gosh, you know, I did this in 1973 and I never dealt with it. Or blah blah did this to me in 1932 and I never coped with it. I never dealt with it. Too many of our elders are coming to the end of their lives and they're not doing their work. And so for that reason, our families are crumbling under the pressure and strain of not having been able to address what has happened in their lifetimes and the traumas that are lurking in the background. This is why I have to keep moving. I have actually done the work. I have created the resources for those who are approaching a time when they're going to need them. And as the work goes on, I now find myself looking more into the bloodline trauma side of things so that we can clear that, so that we can do the work to elevate and raise our vibration, so that when we do lay our bodies aside, it is a celebration of life. We came to Earth to work. Many people have often said that Earth is a school. We have come to school to learn. But it's like a lot of us have come to Earth and we have literally been flipped. The switch has been flipped and our senses have been dulled. And so we cannot learn, we cannot have the experiences that we're supposed to be having, and we cannot elevate in the way that we are supposed to be elevating. And you know what? I think that the elevation stopped actually way before the event of slavery. Because if we were still operating at 100%, then we could never have been enslaved in the first place. Okay? So I do honestly believe that there was an episode of deterioration occurring prior to the event of slavery. Please think about what I've said, because the onus really is on us. You know, we are great and wonderful beings, but we're not functioning at 100%. We don't know who we are anymore. We have forgotten who we are. And with each generation that now hits the earth, it seems that the powers are there, the abilities are there. Our kids are firing on all cylinders. But as we register them into the system and enroll them into the school, we lose them. And before we know it, they are killing each other and themselves. And what I'm saying is not hypothetical. I'm not speaking in metaphor. This is really happening in real time. We are watching it happen and we don't seem to be doing anything about it. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about today, which is often the case, I'm like, okay, I want to talk about karma, but then I find myself talking about something else. But let's talk about karma. So last week I was speaking about the dynamic, and I'm going to call it a dynamic that occurred in Croydon when I'm going to say one of our youths um, sadly ended the life of another one of our youths in a situation that could have been prevented if we had our communities. Now, there are situations that are going to happen. They're going to take place whether we have a community or not, because there are certain things that just have to play out, and this is karma. Now, whenever we think about karma, we always kind of automatically relate it to a very bad and terrible thing. Actually, karma is quite beautiful. And when you overstand karma, and when you overstand death, then you can see the beauty in the action. Now, what I'm saying completely goes against any feelings that we may have, any social anxiety that is thrown up by the event. What I'm saying flies in the face of our learned behaviors. And we have learned that when the life of another is taken, we are we are stunned, we are saddened, we feel it in our hearts. The reason why we feel it is because we are one people. And I've said before, I didn't know George Floyd. He lived like, I don't know, I think in Tapestries of Grief, I've said something like, he lived something like 388,000 miles away from me. I don't know him. But the moment his life was taken, I felt it. And when the life of our young sister in Croydon was taken, I felt it. When we hear that somebody has passed away, regardless of how far or near they are, we do feel it. Something within our bodies does feel it, because we are all connected as melanated people. We feel it. We are a feeling people. We have emotions, and those emotions play out. Every dynamic that happens has an effect, which is why I've called my work the Tapestry series, because we are all part of the same one rich tapestry. If you pull a thread, the tapestry is not the same. The picture is altered. And so when we feel like we are rubbish and depressed and we're miserable and we're sad and we feel as if we're worthless, I just want you to know that the tapestry is incomplete without you. You're meant to be in that tapestry. No matter how much you do, no matter how little you do, you are a vital element to that tapestry. That tapestry is a community. And sometimes there are people that are on the fringes of that tapestry, and there are people that are right in the middle of that tapestry. And there is a whole spectrum of colours and faces and sizes and shapes that are sitting on that tapestry, and they all have a part, and they are all meant to be there. But let's go back to that analogy that I was talking about with the heart being a community, that every cell is necessary within that community that makes the heart. When there is any form of a blockage, then the whole heart is compromised. And so other communities, the lungs, the liver, the kidneys, the spleen, the blood, maybe the lungs, have to work that little bit harder to, to help the heart out, to help that community, to kind of readdress the imbalance, to provide the energy so that maybe the heart can, can reform itself back to a working situation, harmony. But as I've said in recent shows, we are spirit beings before we are human beings. We have come here to have a human experience, to have an existence in the flesh until we lay that flesh aside. And whilst we are in the flesh, we have work to do. And prior to coming into that flesh, we were told your life is going to last for 14 years, 14 human years, for 23 human years, for 98, 75, 52 human years. But we forget because we are enrolled into the school system. We are registered into the social system. We become swept up in life. And we're not part of communities in any way, shape, or form that can give us the guidance that we need so that we can fulfill the role that we have on earth until that work is done. And even though we're not given that guidance, it's still done. Like, if we're told that your life is going to end at 14, then it's going to end at 14. And if your work is done at that time, then it's done. And maybe it's a good thing that we forget what it was that we actually came here to do. Maybe it's a good thing, I don't know, because many of us are now walking around completely lost, dazed and confused, wondering what is life all about. And the last thing that we do is consider going to spirit. And the reason why for some of us is because we've been told that our spirit is something to be feared. We've been told that our spirit is voodoo or witchcraft or obeah. And we've been told that we need to stay away from that stuff. We've been told not to look into our ancestry and figure out who our ancestors were. We've been told that anything too black ain't good. And so we are fearful about looking too far black, you know, but this is the truth of who we are. We are now living in the age of Aquarius. This is a time when light is hitting the earth en masse. And so we find ourselves in a state of transition. Our bodies are ascending. And we are coming back into alignment with our original state. We can't stop this. This is happening. But we're not the only people who this is happening to. The whole world is going through a state of ascension. Okay? And it looks very much like we are all going mad. There are wars and pestilences and crimes and disasters breaking out on earth in one place after another. And yes, it's been foretold in the Bible that things like this are going to happen in the time of Revelations. But let's think about that even. And I feel as if I'm kind of going from one thing to another and kind of just unstructured, going all over the place. But if you can, just stick with me. Okay. So Christianity has done a huge number on us. It's led us astray in many ways. In many ways, it's also protected us. But we're now in the time of Aquarius, the age of Aquarius. We are receiving our revelations. Light is hitting the earth, and we are able to see the murky stuff that has taken place in the darkness. The previous age was the Piscean age. That was about dogma, Christianity. It was about darkness. It was about control. It was about suppression. It was about not being given freedom, having our freedoms taken away. And as we move into the age of Aquarius, those who were flourishing in the age of Pisces are struggling to keep a hold of us. They know the time is up. They know that we're in the age of Aquarius, but that's why we're seeing this clamp down, this attempt to control us furthermore. This is why we are experiencing the fight over our soul. And many of us have unwittingly handed our souls over and signed a form to do so. Yeah, many of us have done that in very recent years. And so we have received metals into the bloodstream that can at some point perhaps be activated within this technological age of Aquarius, so that those energies that are actually fading out may be able to tune in to our frequency as we continue on Earth. This is deep. There is a war going on, and this war affects us all, regardless of our color, regardless of our background or our culture. I speak primarily to melanated people because I am melanated, but I recognize that we are all experiencing pain, all of us on Earth. And that is because a grand majority of us, regardless of where we are in this Earth setting, have experienced the control, the dogma, the misery, and the darkness of the Piscean era. And those who carry the most darkness, believe it or not, are actually the Europeans, because it was them who went round the world and done a lot of this destructive work. It was them who flourished within that time. But their time has come to an end. Interestingly, because of the work that they did all over the earth, they kind of get a blight because they have fed themselves through the different bloodlines as well, which is why they too feel elements of pain and distress, fear, retribution, and karma. So let's look at this word karma. We have been on Earth for thousands and thousands of years. I'm going to leave it there. I can probably say we can go back millions and millions of years, but let's go back thousands and thousands of years. And essentially, we come back and we kind of reincarnate into the same kind of bloodlines. We kind of reincarnate back into the same patterns. And the people that we associate with, the people that we cross paths with, we have done so in previous lifetimes. That is why perhaps you might walk into a room and think, oh, flipping heck, it's her. My spirit just don't take to her. There are people that I feel like that. I go into a social event and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's here. Yeah, I'm talking about a particular person. We're not always going to get on with each other. We're not always going to like each other. That's life. There are going to be many people who don't like me for what I'm saying, because what I'm saying is like quite painful to hear. It's quite painful to hear. And it can sound as though I'm being quite heartless at times, because I'm speaking from a matter-of-fact perspective, recognizing that what we are actually experiencing is an illusion. What we are experiencing is actually stories unfolding so that they can be cleared in this lifetime. And the thing that keeps them blocked up and damned are our emotions. Now, I had a session with somebody this morning who is a Christian coming into her spirituality, and she said something very interesting to me. She said, normally, Laura, I would rebuke these feelings. I would rebuke these emotions as they come up. I would rebuke them and say, I'm not feeling that. I'm not going there. I was like, wow, that's interesting. Because it's in the rebuking then that, we're not doing the work. This energy is coming up to be released. And whenever we rebuke it, we are staying under the control of he that has instructed us to rebuke. These are natural energies, natural emotions. We have been given these emotions to feel them to the fullest so that we might have a full human experience whilst on earth. The reason, in theory, apparently, why God created humans is because apparently he wanted to experience everything in its totality. So that is the emotion. We have happy experiences. We don't, when we're happy, when we're feeling great, when the sun is shining and we're feeling nice and irie and sweet and the music's playing and the food is flowing and everybody's, you know, just jiving together and feeling good. We don't turn around to say, I rebuke this feeling. I rebuke it. We wouldn't, would we? But this is no different to when we are feeling like Shiza, yeah? And we are really feeling down and depressed and miserable, or we've lost somebody and our hearts are broken and we are filled with sorrow. That emotion is not to be rebuked. It is to be experienced. When you have a memory of uncle this or daddy that, or even maybe auntie this one, that one, or the other coming into your room and being inappropriate, and then it comes up in our adult years and we're feeling it, yeah, we have to feel it. We have to have that experience. We have to remember it and we have to go back and we have to clear that energy. We have to go back to that child. We need to speak to that little version of us and we need to clear them. We need to hold them. We need to protect them. We need to put that protection in place as our adult selves. This is time travel. Hear me when I talk to you. This is time travel. When you go back to those experiences, when you face your oppressors, when you stand up in front of them and say, I am not having this. You are not doing this anymore. I am protecting myself and I am taking back my power. There is no such thing as time. You can go back in time and you can readdress the balance so that when you come back to this present experience, you are anew. You are made anew. That means that the room you're sitting in is not the same. The body that you're sitting in is not the same. You are now in a different timeline. And within that timeline, you can address the direction that you're going to go into next. Why? Because you have that power from young, because you installed it. This is time travel. Think about it. All right, okay, I am going to play a song coming up to the top of the hour. Let's, yeah, I'm sticking with this theme today. And when I come back in the second hour, I have been instructed that I'm going to pull some cards. Yeah, this is a different show. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whoever you are, wherever you are. I hope that you are nice. I hope that you're sweet. I hope that you're irie. You know what? I don't even hope it. I trust. Yeah, I trust that you are sweet and irie and that all is good in your world. I trust that you are happy and that you have joy in your heart and that you feel fulfilled. And I recognize that sometimes that's not the case. Yeah, I recognize that we can't always feel like that. And it's okay. I recognize that sometimes we have to feel flat and miserable and cross and angry. I think it's Bounty Killer that says, isn't it? Cross, angry, miserable. such is life, as my dad would say when he walked the earth. Such is life. We are here to experience the whole freaking lot. So, in the first hour, I talked about a lot. I think that personally, I think that I was rambling, but I do recognize that, some of that information that I give is channeled. And maybe what I need to do is have a word with myself so that it's more structured. Please bear with me. In time, it will be. I've been doing this for a long time. And the reason, I suppose, why I'm kind of scattered at the moment is because I'm not used to being so open and out there with this. Yeah. I'm not used to sort of talking so freely about spiritual aspects. But I recognize that the time is now. And even if I wanted to just shut my mouth and not say anything at all, like that it just not gonna work. It's going to hurt me. This, I suppose, is a lot for me as well as anybody who may be listening to what I'm saying. We are all on a journey. I'm no further along than you. I'm no better than you. I'm no further advanced than you are. We're all here to have an experience. And thank you, Lorna. Lorna has said that she hasn't found my talking as rambling. So thank you. I really appreciate you. Thank you, humbly, my sister. My intention is to speak. And, you know, recently it's like I'm being forced to speak up, to share what I know. And I'm ready to do so as well. It's taken a long time. I would say that I became conscious of my work on earth when I found myself in New York, in Brooklyn, when the 9/11, when the World Trade Centers came down. That's when I realized, oh, damn. Because I knew what a false flag attack was. And when I came back to the UK, I was trying to tell everybody it's not what it looks like, please. And I looked like I was crazy, and people thought that I was taking the Michael. And maybe they thought that they might have to do something to balance me out, let's say. And it's funny because nowadays people are coming up to me and saying, do you know this? Do you know that? And I've got an expression that I use, and it's wash the dishes, get enlightened, and wash the dishes. I feel like I'm back washing the dishes again. Sometimes I get enlightened and I get bursts of energy, and then I go back to washing the dishes. And then I watch everybody else get enlightened and I think, oh, that's cute. But then we all go back to washing the dishes. And, an example of that was actually when George Floyd died, because suddenly everybody was jolted. Oh my gosh. And then the energy died down and we all went back to washing dishes. And then we've got our little lady, our one of our daughters in the UK, who went to school and was literally molested by the teachers and the police. Yeah. And we all went out and we marched, and we were all, really, really disgusted by what she experienced. And we got enlightened. We need to do something. We need to work together. And then we went back to washing the dishes and nothing got done. And so we have experienced the slaughter of another one of our daughters, perhaps at the hands of one of our sons. And so we've all come out and we're all feeling it, and we are heartbroken. This has really touched us, especially in England, in South London, in Croydon. But really, what are we doing? What are we doing? Are we addressing the spiritual? Are we addressing the emotional, the mental? Are we looking at our children? Are we giving them the tools that they need so that they know how to handle rejection and conflict? Do we ourselves know how to handle rejection and conflict? The answer is no, because many of us, my age and upwards, I'm 45, many of us and upwards were beaten up because our parents were beaten up. And so all we know is grief and destruction. All we know is to keep our mouth shut and to keep moving forward. But where do we move forward to? We don't know. We just know that we have to keep going forward. And so when that time comes and we're told you're about to lay your body aside, and we realize that we haven't done the work of spirit, we've done the work of Masa, we've woken up, we've gone to work, we have toiled in the field, we have made Masa rich, we have come home, we have watched television, engaged in social media. Our children have been plugged into PlayStation, and so they're busy killing their enemies online. But never once do we sit down and think to ourselves, where is this 7 billion volts of energy that I have got running through my bloodstream actually going? Who is actually taking this energy that I am creating? Who is harnessing it? Who is benefiting from it? If it takes 12 volts to power a car, then surely I should be astral projecting. Surely I should be time traveling. Surely I should be moving through dimensions. I should be connecting with my home race. I should be connecting with my ancestors on a stronger vibe than, working with external tools such as crystals and these cards that I've been shuffling during the break. These work, these are what Bashar would call permission slips. Our crystals work, but have we actually attuned them to us? Have we instructed them? Have we cleared them of their energies? Do we even know how to? And what we can expect of them when they are actually working? Or are they just pretty? Do they look pretty when we've got them round our necks? Do they look pretty when we're wearing them on our fingers? Do they look pretty when they're hanging from our ears? Do they look pretty when we have them on our desks to show how spiritual we are and how attuned we are? Are we really? Because what we need to recognize is that spirituality has also been co-opted. Yeah, every aspect of our lives has been co-opted. And whenever you are forced or encouraged or guided to look outside of yourself, it is because the truth of who you are is actually inside of yourself. I speak to many sisters who do not look at themselves in the mirror. They dare not look at themselves in the mirror because they don't like what they see. But when they look in the mirror, they don't see the truth of who they actually are. And the truth of who we actually are is on the inside. It's on the inside, it's not on the outside. But who's got time to actually stop and consider your outside? And who of you actually has time to consider your own inside? Let me say that again, because I think I've got it wrong. So when we're going out to work and we are providing for our families and paying the rent and paying all the bills and making sure that we are fed and watered and look nice and can get from A to B, when do we actually have time to sit down and go within? Now, yes, we meditate. That has really taken off. Yeah. But how often do we actually look at those things that disturb us, that make us feel really, dark inside? Those things, those traumas, those experiences that we don't really want to address. How many of us are actually willing enough to go in there and to work it all out and clean out all those cobwebs? Not many of us have the time to do it, and not many of us have the inclination to do it. And that's the truth of the matter. And it's really funny because it's like this, yeah. I personally, I suffer with alopecia. And the ancestors told me quite recently that every time I shave my hair off, I insult them. So I've had to stop shaving because I was completely bald, and I was very, 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 very happy with my bald head because I looked beautiful and stunning. And with hair now, as it is, I don't feel beautiful and stunning. Yeah, because like half of my head has got hair on it and the other half scarcely does. Yeah. So it's like I don't look nice. But that's not the truth of who I am. I am beautiful inside and I am beautiful outside. And when I realize how beautiful I am inside, I will see the beauty of myself shining and radiating through on the outside. We have to find it in ourselves before we can find it in others. But the thing is, we've been programmed to look outside of ourselves. And so we do ourselves up so that we can look as appealing as we possibly can, so that others may find us appealing too. But never once do we think about the energies that they are carrying. Yeah. Never once do we think that maybe they have got darkness inside them that also needs to be cleared, that actually makes them feel as if they are dark and ugly and awful and horrible and terrible inside. And sometimes those thoughts that we have of ourselves lead to us doing extreme things like bleaching our skin, for example, or taking a knife and slashing away at our own bodies or the bodies of somebody else. Okay, so what I really wanted to talk about in this hour, as well as the first hour, was karma. And I have to keep on bringing myself back and bringing myself back, bringing myself back. So before I started the show, I was guided to get my cards out, and I created my own cards. They are called the Dipism deck, and I've had them since, oh gosh, since Whoppy did kill Philip. So I think I created these cards about 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. And I used to do psychic readings, or I don't like to use them terms. I used to do readings for people, and they were all quite accurate. And then I kind of fell out of love with all things spiritual. And I said, that's it. I'm not doing nothing because you lot are promising me the earth and I'm not getting anything back in return but burnout. But as I was preparing to do today's show, I basically got told, get the cards out. So I did. I've got 3 decks here. They are the Dipism deck, red, gold, and green. And I did shuffle them in the break. And so here we have some cards, and I'm just going to throw them down. I've not actually really looked at them, but there is a message here for us. Okay. So the first card says it's time to reflect. It is time for us to reflect on our lives. It's time for us to really stop and look at where we're going, what we are doing, who we are, and what direction we really want our lives to go in. Now is the time that we can actually stop if we want to. Okay. If you look at the world, how it is right about now, everything gone dirty, right? Everything is up in the air. Everybody is struggling, right? Nobody is doing any better than anybody else. I am not better than you. I don't know any more than you. Yeah, you're not better than me. You don't know any more than me. We're all in the same place. We're all in the same boat. Yeah, we're all here together. So it's time for us to really stop and reflect. And when things like the situation in Croydon come about, when we lose our loved ones, when we experience social trauma and we all come together to grieve, what we need to do is remember that we are spirit beings first, having a human experience. We have to reflect on that. And once we reflect on that, we have to do so with intent and we have to take responsibility. That's the next card. We have to take responsibility for what comes up. What comes up is ugly. It's awful. It doesn't feel as nice as if you are in the dance and you're raving and you're having a good time and the music is playing. Yeah, that feels good when we're dancing, when we're feeling the music in our marrow. When, like, I like to stand up against the speaker. Yeah, so when we're really there in a dance and we're enjoying it, that feels good, and we're feeling the vibrations of the music and we are responding. Likewise, when we actually sit and reflect on our lives, on our experiences, on the traumas of the lives that we've experienced and the bloodline trauma that we are carrying within these bodies, we have to take responsibility, because originally, before we came to earth, we said, I'm going to do it in this lifetime. That is why you were abused. That is why you were tortured. That is why you're struggling. That is why you're here having this experience, feeling like rubbish, because you came to earth to do the work. So the third card says, you have work to do. You have work to do. It's time to reflect. It's time to take responsibility. It's time to do the work. Okay? It's time to do the work. And this is going to plunge us into emotional turmoil. That's the next card, emotional turmoil. But there are people like myself who are in place to help navigate you through that time. I'm not saying that I'm better than you. I'm not saying that I don't have my own traumas and turmoils. But what I am saying is that I'm fortunately in a place where I'm like, actually, aha, I get you. I overstand. I overstand. Let me give you an experience, yeah? In March of this year, my car died. In March of this year, my world came to an end. My washing machine broke down. In March of this year, my work dried up. I hit the wall. Yeah. I want to say, I was going to swear. I S you not. Yeah. March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. Life has been hellish for me. I haven't told you. Yeah, I haven't sat down and said, you know what, this happened and that happened, and I got stalked and I got racially abused and I got stranded and I this happened and that happened and this happened. I've not said any of that. Yeah, because it wasn't necessary. Because as it was happening, I saw what was going on, and I'm like, okay, I get you, I get you, I get you. Now, recently, I got myself a washing machine. I plumbed it in. Yeah, I done everything right. I tell you, I done everything right, because when the guy came to fix the machine, he's like, yeah, you done everything right. It's just that that pipe wasn't connected, and it's not my fault. Yeah. And so when my brand new washing machine flooded the whole of the kitchen, I was actually quite happy, because it's like, look, I've got a washing machine that can flood. What a privilege. Yeah. Last week, Saturday, I got a new car. I got a new car. And I got a new car because in March, my old car died, because I literally drove her to death, traveling up and down the M1 to do the death work in London when I live in Yorkshire. Yeah. She died. So here's me feeling all nice about myself, because now I've got a car, and I drove to Manchester yesterday and I helped my son out with a few bits that needed to be sorted. And then on the way home, what happened? I got a flat tire and I ended up stranded on the M62 for 3 hours. And I didn't get home until 3 o'clock in the morning, even though I had left my son at around 9:30. And you know what? As I stood there looking at my car and I stood in a place of safety on the hard shoulder, I had to laugh. I had to laugh. I was actually smiling because you know what? If anybody had told me 2 weeks ago that I'd be standing on the M62 on the hard shoulder, I would have been like, you what? And so I was able to embrace. I'm in a position where I'm able to embrace the catastrophe and I'm able to enjoy the catastrophe because I can see it for what it is. And you know, yesterday they had to slow me down, they had to stop me, and they had to give me the message. And I feel no shame in telling you what the message was. The message was, Laura, you are unprotected. Laura, you have no man in your life. You have no husband. You have no boyfriend. You have nobody who cares for you on that kind of level. Sure, you've got your kids, but when you get home at 3 o'clock in the morning, you have no man to welcome you and to say, oh, my darling. You have no man to jump in the car and say, where are you on the M62? I'm coming. I'm going to change that tire. I'm going to sort you out. You have no father, you have no grandfather, you have no uncles, you have no cousins close by you. You have nobody. You are doing this work of spirit and you are completely unprotected. That's what they had to show me. That's how they showed me. And because prior to that, I've been saying, there's no man that can balance this. There's no man that can handle this. How can I expect any man to take on this spiritual work that I do or this weirdness that I am because I'm a very weird little girl? Surely it's not fair. And where is the man that's going to be able to match my brain and actually challenge me and give me conversation that I need? Because I see so much destruction in our brothers and we need our brothers. And I see so much destruction in our sisters and we need our sisters. And I know that I'm not the only one in this situation. Stop and take a breath. This is how I go off on one. This is how I rant. I have work to do, is what I'm saying. Yeah. And fortunately, I'm not experiencing emotional turmoil. That's basically what I'm saying. All right. So if you are experiencing emotional turmoil, then you can contact me. And if I'm not the one who is supposed to be working with you, because I will be asking spirit before I do so, if I'm not the one, then I will find the one because I'm connected to weirdos like me who are here to do the work, who incarnated on earth for this time, who have been here for millions of years, gathering the tools so that when this time comes, when Gaia, planet Earth, the Earth Mother, is literally moving from one transition to the other, from Pisces into Aquarius, she is making that move, she is elevating, and she is taking us with her. She could have shook everybody off. She could have been like, oh, F humanity, because look what humanity's done to the earth. But she's like, no, you know what? We're going to deal with the Europeans. We're going to deal with everybody else. I'm going to elevate. And transitions are all about death and rebirth. And then little me says, okay, I'm going to do the work of death and rebirth. So I've laid down the resources for the death. And now I'm working on the rebirth. And it doesn't matter how old you are never too old to rebirth. Yeah. And the rebirth is the shaking off of the trauma, the shaking off of the pain, the shaking off of the darkness. And I'm not alone in this work. Yeah. I see my sister Lorna is by my side. And I've introduced you to other people that I am working with who also stand by my side. And if you need to be reminded, go back and look at the other videos because I'm having these conversations with our brothers and sisters from our communities because it doesn't make sense when we go to other people in other communities and we ask them to fix us because number one, it's not their job. especially if they are the ones that have broken us. Number two, they are not as old as us. They have not incarnated the amount of times that we have. They do not have the tools that we need to fix ourselves. So why are we going outside when we have everything that we need inside? Everything and everybody. Because we are the tapestry. We are the body of the tapestry. We are the girth of that fabric. We hold it all together. There is a drive to eliminate the Black people off the face of the earth. If you do that, then everybody's gone. We are the ecosystem. Yeah, we are the ecosystem. We are the earth. We are nature. Yeah, we are the beginning. We are the alpha and the omega. Without us, there is nothing. And you know what became of the people in past incarnations who messed up? Like those of Atlantis, everything Ganadati, to the point where they've had to say never again. We will never let it get that far ever again. Yeah, there are civilizations that have come and gone, come and gone, come and gone. Yeah, which is why when we were on our demise, we were able to be enslaved. And we went through that cycle. But guess what? That cycle is actually broken. And we are yet to get the memo. And we are now at that moment where we're rising up. But we've been told that our rising up, which is spiritual, actually looks like mental breakdown and mental health. And so there is a program that is circulating, and it's talking about mental health and, you know, section your loved one and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And this trans business. There is no trans business. Yeah. But these different programs are being put in place to capture our children so that their minds are led in a different direction away from their spiritual self. Let me tell you about this trans program. It's a transition. Gaia, planet Earth, this earth that we live on is in a state of transition. We have aspects of our past lives within which we have been man, woman, dog, animal, beast, entity, demon, angel, everything you can experience or imagine. We've been there, we've done it, we've walked the earth. Yeah. We have ancestral trauma that hasn't been cleared. We have bloodline trauma that hasn't been cleared. We have our authentic selves. We have our inner or unauthentic selves. We have our higher selves. We have the work that we came to earth to do. We have all the energy that wasn't cleared. Of course, we're going to think that we're going out of our minds. Of course, we might actually question whether we are, am I a man or a woman? Like, what is going on? Because I feel so emotional today, and then I feel so masculine tomorrow. Like, we are literally elevating. We are evolving. This is evolution, what we're going through right about now. And because we are looking outside of ourselves for a solution, we are messing up. We need to be looking inside of ourselves for the solution, because that's where it is. And once again, you know, there are people like me who are here to do this work, but you have to stand up for yourself. The time has come where you have to speak up for yourself. The card says, speak up for yourself. Because if you don't talk about your pain, then nobody can help you. Yes, you were told, don't chat your business. Don't let anybody know what goes on in the house. Don't let anybody know if you're feeling miserable or hurt or upset or rubbish. And back in the day when that advice was needed, because, you know, Masa was roaming his land, we needed to keep our mouths shut. Yeah. Because if we even told our mother or our brother or our sister or our friend, this is what's going on with me, then they could run off to Masa and stab us in the back with the knife. Us killing ourselves isn't a new phenomenon. We've been doing this from time immemorial, you know. Black on black crime doesn't exist, you know, not as much as white on white crime, which isn't ever talked about. But we have been killing ourselves from day one. Like, let's not get it twisted. This is the truth of the matter. And that's where narratives like this come from. Don't chat your business. Don't tell anybody what's going on, because Master's going to swoop in and he's going to take your children away. Master's going to swoop in and he's going to kill you. He's going to make your life hell. It's hellish already. But that time has gone. We need to start talking now so that we can actually do the work. Okay, we need to do the work, and that's going to bring up anger. It's going to bring up emotional turmoil. It's going to bring up times of uncertainty where we're not going to know who we are, whether we're Arthur or Martha, where we're coming or going. Yeah, but when we suffer in silence, that's when we are most likely to snap, pick up that knife and plunge it in somebody else's back. That is when we're likely to just say, you know what, I can't take it anymore, and try to end our own lives. Yeah? This is where we are. This is the time that we are living in. It's deep. If you don't want to speak to anybody about this, then I completely understand. This card says, write it down, journal, write it down, write down what you're thinking, have your conversation with your ancestors who are waiting for you to say, I'm ready. They're waiting for you. And for those of you who are in emotional turmoil, it's because they're pushing you to say, I'm ready. How much more are they going to have to push you? Do you have to end up being stranded on the M62 at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning? Do you have to, is that what it has to take, for you to then turn around and say, okay, I'm ready? Do you have to lose a loved one? Does a loved one have to be taken away from you for you to turn around and say, okay, I'm ready to do the work? Literally, how grey do things have to get until you turn around and say, all right, that's it, I surrender. I surrender. I did that once. I remember. For those of you who don't know, something that I used to boast about quite a lot is that I used to be a train driver on the Bakerloo line when I lived in London. And there was one time when I was on the front of the train driving along, and I went past a red light. And that can mean that I can lose my job at the very worst. And at the very least, it means I have to sit through retraining and all the rest of it. And blah, 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 get my wrists slapped. Because even though nobody died, it's still a life and death situation. I went past a red light, and at that point, it was like, Wahala! I surrender. I'm done. Take my job away from me. I can't live with this stress anymore. Like, oh gosh, if I wasn't on radio, I'd do a 45 and I'd swear. But sometimes it gets to the point where the stress is just too much, where you just have to say, that's it, I'm done. I surrender. A friend of mine put something on Facebook the other day, and I just said to her, you know what? The wheels, the legs, the table legs are wonky, and everything that's on the table is rotten. I just feel to let everything slide off the table and let those legs break. Just let it all go. Just let it all go. Because when we're trying to control everything, then we can't heal anything. Let me say that again. When we are trying to control everything, then we can't heal anything. When we're trying to control how other people react to us, what are we doing? We're hurting ourselves and we're hurting others. We are blocking ourselves and we are blocking the opportunity of others to heal, to come in and help us, to have an experience, which, if we go back to the first hour, I did say that apparently there are some people who believe that God is having an experience through us, and that's why we are experiencing everything on earth in its totality. When I try to control your experience of life, yeah, then I am stopping you from growing. which is why I can't heal you, but I can sit here and I can speak to you so that you can have some tools or some energy so that you can do the work yourself to heal yourself. Yeah, that's how this works. It's not voodoo. It's not obia. It's not witchcraft. It's not demonistic. It's sitting down and saying, all right, look, I've got these cards here. And this says it's time to reflect. Do you think it's time to reflect? Yeah, it's time to reflect, you know. Okay, cool. So this is what you've come across. What are you going to do? Are you going to take responsibility for that? Because it happened because you. Oh, yeah. Or it happened because 2000 years ago, you. Oh, really? Yeah. And so it's come up in this lifetime to be dealt with because in everything, when it comes to nature, there is balance. And we are nature people. We're nature beings. And nature isn't pretty. Nature is gritty, it's dirty, it's death, it's messy. When you see the flowers and they smell nice and all that kind of stuff, that's the manifestation of the work being done. Yeah. They don't just pop up just like that and it's as easy as that. No, sir. They've come up from the underworld. That's work. And there is an underworld. And you will find out more as time goes on. And as I find out more about my previous incarnations, and I will be sharing everything with you because I'm done keeping my mouth shut now. So whoever's listening is listening, and whoever don't want to listen, you don't have to listen. And if you find this recording in 10, 15, 25 years time, then albeit. And if in 10, 20, 15 years time, you find that I'm the wickedest thing since sliced bread because of what I'm doing at that time, then so be it. I can't control how you feel about me. I can't control how you receive me. You've got your experiences, you've got your own demons to deal with, your own entities, your own histories, your own culture, your own everything. Yeah. So when you receive me, you might be like how I am when I see that sister in social settings. I flip it. My spirit just don't take to her. Maybe it's because 2000 odd years ago or 150 years ago, she did me something and we never dealt with it. That's it. Because everything happens in the spiritual before it happens in the physical. Everything that manifests, everything that we've got here before us today, every single thing was first created in the spirit and has manifested its way into your life. And that's the same with the people that you have in your day-to-day life. The chances are that your paths crossed in previous lifetimes. And so that person who really gets on your nerves and sticks in your craw and you really can't stand, they are probably likely to be your best friend. And they are giving you the opportunity to heal yourself. And yes, that really is your abuser as well. And that really is the person who killed you. This is a balancing out that I'm talking about. And no, it's not pretty. And it sticks in your side like a thorn until you pull it out and you look at it and you see it for what it is. And I know that what I'm saying isn't going to rest easy with many, many people. Many people are not going to be in a position to listen to this because it hurts. It hurts. And my delivery isn't the softest. But, you know, we've been asleep. We've been in a coma for a long time now. It's time that we take responsibility, as the card says, and do the work. You have to do the work, as the card says. You have to speak up for yourself, as the card says. And yes, speaking up for yourself is about approaching and addressing your emotional turmoil, like the card says. And if you don't want to reach out to somebody else because they are a reflection of yourself, because they look like you, because they carry the same energy as you, because they have the same trauma, the same DNA, the same imprint and blueprint as you, then write it down as the card says. Talk directly to your ancestors, work directly with your guides and your teams, connect with them, because that's where your healing is. And if you don't know how to do that, and you don't want to work with somebody who can help you to access that inside you, then write it down, because they are waiting for you. They're waiting for you. They're sitting on the edges of their seats, and they don't want to have to wait for the time when you lay your body aside to die, because then they have to work with you in their capacity, but then you're going to have to reincarnate and come back to earth carrying a lot of that baggage, because it has to be dealt with. Yeah, it has to be dealt with on earth in the physical, because that's where it manifested. That's where the trauma manifested. That's where the experience was felt. That's where the emotions came up to the surface. In the spirit world, they don't have emotions, you know. In the spirit world, there's no such thing as time. In the spirit world, they don't have feelings. It just is what it is. It's spirit, it's energy. Yeah. When people talk about, oh, there are secret organizations, there are secret clans, and they do this and they do that, and they're using energy, and they're amazing, they've got powers. They don't have any access to any other energy that you don't have access to. The difference between them and you is that, number one, they know what they're doing with the energy. Yeah, they know how to channel it and how to guide it and how to direct it for their highest good. They know how to use the universal laws that are actually in place so that they do not breach them. Yeah, they tell you everything that they're doing. Everything is out in the open. They have to, because otherwise they will endure the karma. Yeah, I'll go into that further another time. Okay, but you know, sorry, I've just got a message from the lady that I was working with this morning. Hi, Laura. Thank you for today. I came off the phone singing and dancing. That is a woman that I'm working with now. I'm working, she's doing the work, literally. And she has literally sent me a message and said, hi, Laura. Thank you for today. I came off the phone singing and dancing. Like, what more? I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. And she's not even listening to the show. She don't know what I'm doing. You couldn't make this up. You couldn't make this up. I am so happy and I'm so content. And even though I didn't get off to sleep until 3 o'clock this morning because I was stranded on the M62 for 3 hours, I just feel like, oh, I'm filled with joy. I'm filled with joy. When I come off this now, I'm probably going to hit the wall. I'm going to be, oh my gosh. But right about now, I'm a funk soul brother. I'm good. Yeah. Because it's like, I come on and I think to myself, I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to say, but I know that I've got nothing to hide. So you can ask me whatever questions you can say. Like literally, I will talk about anything. I will talk about anything from the perspective from which I see it. Okay. So if you want to speak to me, you can do so. My number is 07975 861089. My number is 07975 861089. If you would like to book some sessions with me about whatever it is that's going on in your life, if you want to literally just have a meeting of minds, yes, you will have to pay me for my time. That's something that I'm really having to work with. As I said in the first hour, or maybe in the second hour, literally, I hit the wall this year because I wasn't charging anybody anything. And then all the work dried up, and I've done a lot of work. So now I have to value the work that I've done. I have to value the journey that I am on. I have to value Laura and this experience and the millions of incarnations that have gotten me to this point and all of the tools that I have accumulated along the way. So yes, you will pay me. And yes, you will elevate. And yes, I will elevate. And Gaia, planet Earth, will elevate. And I'm doing the work to train our brothers and sisters up so that we can all be held when that time comes. This is us readdressing the balance so that our children and our four-children or those that come from us in the future can actually have an earth to live on, because we're not going to be exterminated. It's simply not going to happen. But what we are going to do is we are going to increase the level of quality of humankind that remains on this earth. All right, I'm out. If you want to contact me, 07975 861089. This week I've been playing the music of Sarok. Love her.